do not stop listening here and go, well, Claire said don't yuck my young was valid, because she's going to flip this entire thing on its head in a second. So just wait. Hello, and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, come and join the conversation in our Facebook group.
And enjoy the show.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
So I think we mentioned this on one of our last recordings, that we were actually going to be together in the same place at the same time for the first time in a year recently. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago now. It's only been a couple of weeks, but is it just me? Like, it feels like forever ago.
It does. And I mean, it was
an experience,
plot twist,
an adventure,
like I have never experienced before in my life. Like, the week together was great, and then the additional days that we got because of airline fuckery. I mean, we made the best of that, but I feel like even that last day, I mean, I had one of those airport experiences that, depending on how they respond to me, you might be hearing about it on here. But it was one of those flight experiences. Like, we were literally trapped on the plane for a while because of the airline. Like, that
and
felt
it's
like
funny,
a year in itself.
I know, and I haven't even told you this yet, but that day I was like, it was so funny because we'd had this super intense period of time up till the time that we were together. Then the time we were together was ridiculously intense. And so the plan had been that Serena was supposed to leave on the Tuesday, and my plan had been on the Wednesday to do nothing all day. I was literally not going to leave my bed because I was so exhausted. And then, as Serena said, like, she then stayed an extra. She didn't leave on Tuesday. She didn't leave on Wednesday. She actually left on Thursday. And Thursday evening, it was so funny. I was so exhausted. And I had typed out the message to Serena to say, hey, I'm just about to go to sleep. The safe rest of your travels, like, speak to you on the other end, kind of thing. And then I got a message saying, I'm crying in the toilet. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to sleep yet. Okay, I got you. I'm here. Like, so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to stay up a little bit later tonight because I didn't want you to feel like on your own with the trip you had, because I know how horrendous it was in a lot of ways. So yeah, we both had some interesting adventures around that. I mean, fun though it was to spend time together. And the good thing is, at least it's not going to be too long until we're in the same place again, which would be really great.
Yes, it was bizarre and amazing and like fulfilling and draining and all of the magical things all at once. Yes, lots of magic.
Lots of magic, lots of plot twists. I mean, it was a big old magical plot twist, I think, that week. So it's been fun. And now we're back to recording again. So we have, I mean, if you haven't listened to like the last 11 episodes.
11.
Yes. Like, go have a listen. We finally did the shapes recording, and it was so funny. We were discussing this morning and I was like, should we do more shapes related stuff? I'm like, I think they may be a bit shaped out, because if you've listened to all 11 episodes, that's a lot of shapes. I mean, the shapes are going to come up almost any episode that we discuss anyway. I was like, let's go in a different direction. So today we're going in a very different direction. We're talking about something that this has been a thing for a while, but I think it's kind of boomed in popularity recently, certainly over the last, I don't know, year or two, I would say. And it was so funny because, like, normally, like, we've gone from having like super planned out episodes to now we have 2 sentences to summarize what we want to talk about. And then, like, we started chatting, and I'm like, I think we should just get on and record it, because my brain's already going in 3 million different directions. So
Yeah, and they aren't even complete sentences. Claire has no clue what they mean. I'm like,
I have, zero thoughts. So do you want to kind of introduce what we're talking about today? Because this was like, initially it came from you. It's definitely something that resonates with me. But I know this was something that kind of came out of conversations that you've been having recently.
Yeah. It's the concept of this has been around for, I mean, I feel like every generation has their own version of this, but right now I'm spending a lot of time with some of my my youngins, and something that has come up quite a few times is don't yuck my yum. And when I first heard it, I was like, don't what? And my godson was like, don't yuck my yum. And I'm like, okay. And what had happened is there was something that he was eating, and I was like, oh gosh, that's no. That's no. And
Not
it
for
was
me.
yeah, it wasn't for me. And I didn't say, and that was part of it. Like, I didn't say not for me. I was like, oh God, how could, no, like, that is disgusting. And he's like, don't yuck my yum. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay, little 9-year-old. I see what you're saying there. Like, and it's funny because, like, as I've been talking to his mom and like my other friends who have kids, this has been coming up more often. And I was like, you know, I'm trying to like, when Claire and I were talking about it, it's like, don't poo-poo my, you know, like, don't poop on my party, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways to say this, but I thought it was a really good thing to speak about because, you know, it's true. So often we're conditioned into being, you know, so focused on ourselves and what our yum is, what our perfect is. And I think I know we talked about this on a previous episode. It's like the perfect s'more. My perfect s'more is not the same as my husband's perfect s'more. I don't know if Claire eats s'mores. Like,
I actually have. I think I may have now found your new perfect s'more, and I haven't even told you about this either. I saw this on a video recently. So yes, I have done s'mores. Like being vegan, you have to find the vegan marshmallows these days. But I do love
the vegan
s'mores.
graham crackers,
right? And well, I mean, and you can do it with different kind of cookies. There's lots of different ways of doing it. So yes, I can, and I do like s'mores. I saw a video, like little sidebar, just because I didn't think about this until it came up right now, but Serena's going to love this. I saw a video recently about like savory s'mores. So you get a block of cheese and you melt that the way you would melt the marshmallow and put it on a savory cracker, maybe with like, some jelly or jam or and then you make a s'more that, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is Serena's perfect s'more right here.
My perfect, but that's definitely like, ooh. Now I want to have like a s'mores party where everything has to be cooked on a steak.
That would be fun. Yeah.
It's like a fondue party, but like, okay. So anyway, now that I'm thinking about melty cheese on a savory cracker, like you just put my mind in a rabbit hole. I'm gonna start trying to stay focused, but I've got brie on the brain. I'm not gonna lie. Or like, I mean, I have to sidestep from the s'more because I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. Cookies. That's a much easier one. That is an adjacent rabbit hole, but I think I can stay out of it. But like the perfect cookie for everybody, I feel like I have never met somebody who has the same perfect cookie, and it's
right. And it's like, especially like UK US thing. Like I get really frustrated with American cookies because so many American cookies are soft, and that's not really. I mean, you can get them a little bit in the UK, but we tend to call cookies biscuits. And that's not even getting to the difference between US and UK biscuits. Because we are gonna, I mean, we're tiptoeing around a multitude of rabbit holes today. But most biscuits in the UK have got a snap and a crunch to them, and that's one of the things I like about them. And can't freaking get them anywhere. Like, I mean, you can, but they are rare compared to a lot of cookies are kind of soft. And I'm like, no, if I want soft, I'll have a brownie or a muffin or a cupcake. I don't need soft in my cookies. I want crunch in my cookies. So yes.
I want crunch on the outside and softness on the inside. And like, I found my favorite cookie so far, and in Texas.
Oh, you were telling us about it when we
I
were
took
together on the boat.
And sent it to my friends. I'm like, I'm eating this whole thing and really regretting my life decisions right now. Oh my God. They were huge and they were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so now that we're swiftly walking away from both of those rabbit holes, it just goes to show, like, everybody has a different yum, whether it's, I mean, we were talking food here, and we're not specifically, like, this can be anything, like anything. Right. It can be what you're wearing. It can be your vibe. Like, I've known people who, like, have a vibe that's not conventional. It's different.
Mainstream,
people are like, yeah. And people are like, ew. And it's like, their vibe is not in any way vibing with your vibe. Like you're just,
it's not affecting yours. Yeah.
Yeah, like just let it fucking
it could be. It could be hobbies. It could be things you like to collect. It could be music. It could be movies. It could be like the kind of animals you like. I mean, it could be like the kind of vacations you like to take. It could be anything.
And I feel like we're conditioned in our society. Yeah, and I feel like we're conditioned in our society to automatically be on almost like the defensive or the negative about it if it's not our jam. Well, it's like
it's judgmental. That's what it is. Most people jump into judgment. And one of the things, so there is like, my brain is going in 50 million directions right now because there is so much nuance around this conversation, and there's lots of things that I'm like trying to not say all at the same time so as not to overwhelm Serena or anybody listening. But I think that part of the reason that the don't yuck my yum thing is an issue is because a lot of it is in how it's portrayed. As in, it is portrayed in a judgmental way, and there's a sense of superiority in that judgment that is like, it's like, oh no, my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way. And like, I mean, like not to call you out, but when you were describing like the situation with your godson, where you were like, that's disgusting. That like that verbiage, a lot of time that's very common in these sorts of situations. And there is like totally a judgment in that. There's a superiority of like how, like, because it's like, it's not just, I wouldn't like that. It's there's something wrong with that, which implies there's something wrong with you for liking that. And that's a reason a lot of people get defensive. And like when you put it in that context from a needs point of view, yeah, that's the reason that don't yuck my yum is valid. And there is way more to this story. So like, do not stop listening here and go, well, Claire said don't yuck my yum was valid, because she's going to flip this entire thing on its head in a second. So just wait. But in that context,
we're only 12 minutes in,
right? That if you come in with superiority and judgment, that something that somebody else is getting joy out of, and it is not harming you in any way, shape, or form, as long as it's not harming themselves, their needs, yourself, your needs, anybody else's needs, or the needs ecosystem, ain't none of your business. Like it, like you have no, it doesn't. There is no reason to bring any negativity to that situation, because it's not affecting anybody else. And if it's bringing somebody joy right now in the world, we need more fucking joy. We really do. Like if they're getting joy out of something, have at it. And if you're coming in with this kind of judgmental superiority thing, superiority, as we know, is part of the personal power. It's a shitty way of us trying to meet our personal power need, and often our value need as well. And what we're trying to do in that situation is we're trying to do it by taking power from somebody else. We're trying to do it by devaluing somebody else and their choices is a way of us trying to feel valuable. And going back to the shapes, I told you we wouldn't get far without talking about them. But this is where you are in the drama triangle, because you're in the persecutor approach and they're in the victim approach, because you are acting superior to them to feel good about yourself. So very, very superficial level, on this level, at this point, there is some validity to why the don't yuck my yum is really something for us to take into consideration when it comes to needs and put it in a needs context. But hold that thought. Yeah, we're going to go further with this.
And when you I there was no conscious, or I interesting. These are the conversations we usually have ahead of time, so that I like. And
no intentional.
Here we go. Well, yeah, like when it comes to my godson, like, I'm not trying to, like, there isn't superiority or judgment, or even when he was doing it, like, when I think back, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, okay, you want to have, I don't even remember what it was. Like, it could have been something like a marshmallow peep, which, like,
Right.
like, it was something so simple, but it was something that I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Like, I did not want to, like, I wasn't trying to enact my superiority. I wasn't trying to impose judgment on him, but that is exactly what I did. Impact over intent.
Intention.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think, like, when you said that, I'm like,
well, and how much of that was not intentional, it was not mindful, but actually how much of that is just you repeating patterns that you were subjected to when you were a child, without, because you got conditioned into it, without realizing that they were even still stuck in your system somewhere, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, mother, is that you, kind of thing. Like, that's what I can imagine. Like, like
that
not,
right there.
not that that's my mum's way of operating at all, but like I can imagine like that's what happens in that, where it's like, oh, hold on, like when people say, oh, I've become my mother, I've become my father, I've become my grandmother, or whatever it is, it's like because they hear these phrases and these patterns of behavior that they were subjected to. And a lot of time when it's like, oh God, I've become my XYZ, it's like, oh God, because I realized I didn't like it when I was subjected to that. Why the hell am I doing this? And it's because we've been conditioned into it, and we don't even, because we haven't done the work around understanding that and
deprogramming,
deconditioning, yes, or deprogramming ourselves, or like actually realizing that's even a thing, and actually being like, okay, this is not how we want to operate, and intentionally creating different patterns of behavior, and starting to like it takes some work to do that. And sometimes these things creep up on us, and it's like, where the hell did that come from all of a sudden?
I can remember one specific relationship in my childhood where if it wasn't the way that it was meant to be in that person's mind, like, you heard it, and the first thing was like, it wasn't a yuck or an ew or something like that, but it was the same sentiment around it. And that's like what I was conditioned. I don't like something, my response should let you know that I am displeased from the immediacy.
It's
and
a
I think,
sigh,
like,
it's a scoff, it's a
like,
yeah,
like,
yes,
it's any of those things. And I realize, like, as we're talking, I'm like, they're still so ingrained in me, which shows like how, like, we are students of our work. Like, it's still like these things still come through, and we have these conversations, and I'm like, I thought I was past this. No, like, still got some shit to work around this. And like, I was making notes. I used to just swim around in that judgment pool, like, for like, I was looking back, I was making some, like, some notes in my phone. Like, we've talked about the conveyor belt of life. And, you know, it looks something like, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have a kid, you buy a house, you go on a vacation, you'd work your life to retire, and then I guess that's what happens.
Unless you're like us, in which case we took the conveyor belt of life and turned it into a roller coaster, and who the fuck knows what's around the next bend.
I tripped my first step on the conveyor belt, rode it on my back for the first like 20 years, got to a crawling position, ended up with one leg over the side. Like, yeah, I rolled off that thing gracefully, but yeah, I'm far away from that conveyor belt. But I was conditioned. I was conditioned even when I met Claire. Even when I met Claire, I was still like, it looks conveyor belt-esque. Now, like you said, the conveyor belt it's broken. It's actually, yeah, the conveyor belt is broken. Everybody should take a assessment on that. But like, I think
we broke the conveyor belt. We took a freaking crowbar to that and went, oh fuck this conveyor belt. Nope, we're not doing that.
Shit.
Like, tearing it down and beating it up. And
like, it's funny because I used to privately, and the thing is, all right, this is where I'm going with this. think of how many times you yuck somebody's yum in your head. You don't even say it to them, but in your head you have this judgment and you have this like, oh, I could never, or how do they, or that's not right, or whatever it is. I think to my aunt and uncle, who I'm staying on their property right now. And when we were growing up, I didn't have a very close relationship with them because I didn't quite understand them. They were full-time RVers and they didn't have children. And they were always really comfy and doing like out of the box kind of weird things. And, you know, just having these random adventures. And I was like, I don't get, like, how could you not have kids? How can you live on the road? How can you wear those overalls just because they're comfy? Like, how can you do all these things? I'm that person.
Right. I am like, you literally just described yourself.
I am them now. Like, I'm like, oh, like, I can look cute, but I'd rather be comfortable. And like, there's so much, like, I would have had so much judgment on that as like, I mean, probably even like 5 years ago, like being like, oh, like, no, I have to keep up this presence for facade or whatever for Lucy Lou at the grocery store. Like nobody fucking cares what I'm wearing. Like, and it just makes me think of how long, like, in my own brain, I yucked the yum that has served me so much in my life. I yucked that comfortable yum. I yucked that, you know, I yucked the anti-conveyor belt, or like all of that, like finding your own path. I was like, no, but this is the path that was led. And I did that in my brain to the point where it took me a solid 40 years to undo that conditioning, to be like, actually, I wish I had tried this earlier because that yucky is actually pretty yummy. Like,
well, and how much of it is just the conditioning around, like, we're told what is yucky and what is yummy, and we don't actually try the things that we're told are yucky. I mean, it comes. We've talked about this in previous episodes about like my sister not liking custard until she was 5 because I didn't like custard until I was 5, so she wasn't going to like custard until she was 5. And on her 5th birthday, she tried it, loved it. And I believe that if she tried it before then, she would have believed that she hated it. Like, she was so committed to that being the truth that it was like, okay, so like, if you tried custard before that point, ew. And it's like, and it reminds me of on a flip side, I had a friend of mine who didn't like garlic, and we grew up with them. I know. I know.
I've heard not liking chocolate. And I try not to yuck that yum, but even in my brain, I'm like, I approach it now with
it's unusual.
That's interesting. Like,
yes, right. Like, well, but again, I think it was that they had in their head that they didn't like garlic. And then, and that's not to say that there aren't some people who don't like garlic, and that's perfectly valid as a choice. But I remember that we were, they were childhood friends, and we were at a restaurant, and they were eating garlic breadsticks and didn't realize they were garlic breadsticks. And they are like hoovering these things up. And me and my sister were actually looking at each other going, are you going to tell them? I'm not going to tell them. We'll wait to the end of the meal to tell them. We're like, you know that those were garlic breadsticks, right? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, but they were delicious. I'm like, but again, like, how much of the time is like, maybe something was yucky for a period of time for us, and we didn't try it again to be like, well, how is it now? Do I still feel, is it still yucky to me? Or is it now a yum? Like, our tastes change over the years. Like, that's valid too.
Well, and where was it coming from? Like, I remember my first sushi experience. That stopped me from eating sushi for a couple of years. It was back in like the early 2000s, when like sushi wasn't hugely mainstream as like something people ate all the time.
Right.
But somehow we got some grocery store sushi, and like, we were in New England, not at that time known for
done well.
high quality. I mean, great fish, but like, yeah, it wasn't, grocery store was not the peak of sushi freshness, I don't believe. And I hated it. And it was like a California roll. So it wasn't even like fish. It was crab with a K.
Right.
And like, it wasn't anything big, but I did not enjoy that. And then one day I had a nice, like we had like a spa day, me and my friend. And I was like, I feel like I want sushi. Like my body wanted sushi. Now my body had one experience with sushi that was a full on yuck. But I was like, and she's like, do you even like sushi? I'm like, no, that's why this is weird. But I know there are other things on the menu.
Yeah.
I went, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Why like I had a yucky experience with one thing and I yucked a food that I loved for years.
Well, another great example with me is pickles or gherkins if you're watching from the UK. Like when I grew up, my parents
Gherkins,
didn't
the baby
like
ones.
No, we call pickles gherkins in the UK. So like that would be
They're
like
all
a pickle
gherkins.
that you are that you would put in a burger. That would be called a gherkin in the UK. And I think technically there are like different sizes and everything, but that's just who knows. Anyway, my parents didn't like gherkins. Now I know. Well, now I don't know because now I'm caught between two different sides of the pond, and who the fuck knows what I'm calling it, no matter what day, depending on what day of the week it is. My parents didn't like gherkins. And so when we would go to have our kind of fast food burgers as kids, they would always take the gherkin or pickle out of the burger. And I think it was assumed that we wouldn't like them because we were kids and also because of the fact that they didn't like them. So it was I don't know that I ever tried it. Now, this is a very odd thing for me to say because my dad's catchphrase when we were growing up was just try it. Like no matter what it was like, you just try it and see if you like it. So I'm very glad that I got to try lots of different things. But this is the one where like it was such a thing that I used to take the gherkin. I wouldn't even think about what I was doing. Like it wouldn't even occur to me to try the thing or that it was in there for a reason. It was like garnish. Garnish always got taken off. And I'm like, well, actually a lot of the time the garnish, if it's like a fresh herb, it's there to add something. Although not necessarily in British cooking. Sometimes it's just to add some green to a plate, depending on where you're eating. As a child of the 80s, I can verify that for that was definitely the case for a long time. It's like, oh look, it looks fresh, it's got something green on the top of it. No, that's not something you're supposed to eat. But these days, like garnish, like if you've got fresh herbs on the top of something, that will be something that adds to the flavor of the dish. But again, we were not trained like sat there with like treats like make sure you take the garnish off, but that's what we would
slaps
like, that's
on the fingers.
Right, that's what everybody did, and that's what I did with gherkins for the longest time. Like I would always take gherkins out of things, and I didn't even know what the flavor of a gherkin was. I had no clue what the flavor was. And then I remember, I mean, again, we're not going that long ago now, maybe 10 years ago. I went to a gourmet burger place in London and they were like, oh, so sweet. There was a server who was, a second he found out I was vegan, he was like, oh my God, you have to have this burger because I love it and I'm not vegan and I have it all the time. He was like so excited about it. I'm like, sold. Whatever that is, I want some of that. So he
I'll have what he's having.
I'll have what he's having, exactly. And he bought this burger up and it had pickles in it. And I'm like, that was the first time I'm like, oh, this adds a dimension to the flavor of this. And as anybody who knows me and knows my unusual eating patterns know I love like a combination, like as many different flavors as you can get in there, obviously, as long as they are all supposed to be in the same dish. I'm not having pickles and salted caramel sauce, although who the hell knows? I thought salted caramel was going to be weird when I first tried it as well. So like, and again, I tried it and I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be a yuck, totally yum. But so I'm not saying that it was at that point where I realized, hold on, this adds something to the flavor dimension that completely speaks to my way of eating. And I hadn't even tried it because it wasn't something I was intentionally conditioned into. I just followed what everybody around me was doing. And I assumed that was the right thing to do. And nobody ever suggested to do otherwise. And it never occurred to me to do otherwise until all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, pickles and burgers are like the best thing ever. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not quite as much a pickle fan as Serena is, but I have pickles in my fridge as a permanent staple now, which is not something I would have ever done. Like our favorite sandwich that we have here is got pickles in it. Like, and I couldn't imagine taking the pickles out of it. It's
like the pickles are like,
they add that dimension that without it, it's missing something.
Vinegar and all the things.
Right.
Now I Now I'd like a sandwich from Sugar Apple, please.
Right. I thought you were going to put pickles in your savory s'more. I thought that's where you were going with that. Like, Anyway, before Serena goes down that rabbit hole, so there is an element of the, from a needs context, there is a certain validity at one level to the don't yuck my yum, in the sense that if you care about somebody and they are getting joy out of something and it's not negatively impacting them, you, or anybody else around you, who the fuck cares? Why would you want to diminish that joy in any way, shape, or form? Why would you do anything? And it may not be that you would want to. Why would you do anything that would risk diminishing their joy? Like there's so many different ways you could respond to that situation. It could be like, oh, I'd never thought about having that before. Like, how many things, I just talked about it, like the salted caramel sauce. I will never forget the time I had salted caramel sauce for the first time, because I remember seeing it on the menu and being like, sorry, what? You're putting what in what? Like, and as a caramel sauce fan myself, and I got this dish because it was a fancy restaurant in London. It was a chocolate fondant cake, so like that melty, like chocolate lava cake kind of thing, with vanilla ice cream and salted caramel sauce. And I'm like, you know what? I want the vanilla ice cream and the chocolate fondant. I can leave the sauce if I don't want it. But because I had the voice of my father in my head going, just try it. I was like, I'm not going to not try it if it comes up. And I'm like, oh, my life has been forever changed. This is my new favorite food.
I don't know if I know Claire without salted caramel, to
right?
be honest.
Exactly. And it was like, but it was such a visceral moment. And it's burned into my brain because I had such this preconceived notion that I was going to not like it. And so the fact that not only was it okay, I loved it, and it became like a staple part of my diet. I mean, balanced diet, there are other things as well, but I think that as long as you are not negatively impacting somebody else, who the hell cares? Yeah, exactly. As long as it's a self-first way of them meeting their needs, then it's nobody's business. And it's so important for us to break this cycle of judgment and superiority. And when we notice that coming up, like, ask ourselves the question, like, how do we want to, like, what is showing care for this person in our life? And the truth of the matter is, even if it's a stranger, we should still show care because they're part of the needs ecosystem. Now we can talk about it because it's on the Shapes episode. So like, if you want to be in the empowerment ecosystem, you have to be mindful of everybody around you, not just the people who are close to you and that you care about. You have to have care and consideration for the needs of those around you, even if they're not part of your inner circle. And so at that level, we want to start to break this cycle of judgment and break this cycle of superiority. And one of the ways of doing that, meet your needs. Like, if your value need is well met, if your personal power need is well met, then your inclination to make those kind of comments is going to reduce significantly, because there's no benefit to you of doing that. In fact, if you do something and it negatively impacts somebody else, that's going to negatively impact your needs. So there's no net benefit to doing that. So meet your needs, great starting point. Look for patterns that you didn't create, but you have unknowingly been indoctrinated into, been conditioned into, and that you are perpetuating without realizing it. Because those are the things, like, when we start doing things automatically without thinking about it, without checking in, is this how I want to be? Is this who I want to be? That's a point where it's like, put on the brakes. How about we stop? We check in. Is this how we want to? And if not, how do we want to? Like, you could easily say in that situation with Serena's godson, she could have easily said, wow, that's not something I would have thought of. Like, I love that you're getting so much joy out of that, though. Like, that. Like, you're still saying, not for me. Like, you're not going, serve me up a plate of whatever this is that you're having. But you also could say, well, I've never thought about that before. Would you mind, like, can I try it? Like, maybe this is something that was a yuck at one point and maybe is a yum. Like, who knows?
Even asking something like, what is it about that like you enjoy? Just like, there's been so many times that in this long journey of trying to flip this conditioning that I've learned, like, these little, you do the replacement language, you ask questions, the things that I've gotten to know just from, like, asking, like, what is it about that? And somebody be like, oh, it has, you know, like, let's say it was a marshmallow peep. Oh, I like the way the mouthfeel is. Like, I like biting into it. It's like, you know, like, I like a stack of chips if I can do it because I like that crunch. I like that mouthfeel. Some people want one chip and they want to like, just like little crisp, and that's their yum. And it's like, what, like, I appreciate people, I think, so much more the less I yuck people's yums, and the more that I open myself to the why, the and sometimes not even the why,
curiosity about them,
the curiosity about them, or like, it's honestly none of my fucking business. Like, when it comes down to it, it really, like, I think a lot of times people think that they have to say something, like, and this is something I try to work on too. It's like, you don't have to say everything that your head says. Like, it doesn't have to come out of your mouth. And that's why I'm working on the inner dialogue of, you know, yucking people's yum, because what I'm saying in my head is that is going through my body just as much as,
and knowing Serena, it's showing all over her face.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything, but I'm going.
Like, my voice is mute, but my face is not. And interestingly enough, there's actually something that I would like to like add to this before I flip this entire thing on its head, because it's coming. Don't worry, we are going to get there.
I have two things before we flip it too, just to.
Okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, awesome. In terms of like, part of the challenge with this, and this is what's interesting about this, and I hadn't thought about this until just this moment, is that when Serena was saying about like asking questions is a good way of approaching this, it's also a really good way of addressing this when it happens. Because what can end up happening is if you say, don't yuck my yum, you're also getting into that judgmental superior space. Well, I wouldn't yuck your yum kind of things. Why are you yucking my yum? Like, you could just like, I mean, even just approaching that with curiosity, like, are you yucking my yum? Like asking a question and someone be like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Like, thank you. No, I didn't mean to do that. Like, tell me more. Like, why do you enjoy that? Like, it opens up a space for conversation and dialogue. It also removes the judgment, and it removes the chance of defensiveness. Because if you're like, don't yuck my yum, and what's somebody going to say? The first thing out of their mouth is almost something about, I'm not yucking your yum. And then you get into gaslighting because they're getting defensive about the whole thing. But if you come curious, like, I'm curious, are you yucking this yum? Like, and again, like, if you make it, are you yucking this yum, as opposed to, are you yucking my yum? Again, it's not like, are you judging me and this thing I'm doing and this thing that I like? Like, this is something I really enjoy. Are you yucking this yum? Like, it's a way of it's gonna give, there's so much this, like, that basically when this happens, people are pinging around fucking drama triangle at a rate of knots, because the person who perceives that their yum has been yucked is in the victim approach, and they're perceiving this other person in the rescue approach. And then by don't yuck my yum, they move into the persecutor approach and push the other, like, it's like it, and then what the person goes, I'm not yucking your yum, and they're getting defenses, or they get into the persecutor approach, they go back into like, it is like, I can just imagine seeing this conversation playing out, and it's like, none of this is helpful to anybody. Like, none of this is doing anybody any good. I mean, and like, you'd be like, even like, if someone says something, you could be like, oh, I really like this. Like, what is it that you don't like about this? Like, there's a place for curiosity around that in the other direction, rather than getting into this accusatory, you're yucking my yum kind of thing, like, which is just, it's another form of judgment and superiority. So, I mean, I haven't quite flipped it, but that's sort of a semi-flip, like, before we even get into the proper flip that's going to happen in a minute.
Well, it reminds me of a situation that came up about this just recently. I was sitting around a fire, and somebody asked the group of us what our favorite movies, like, what are your top 5 favorite movies? And we didn't quite go around the circle as was intended, I think, initially. And we just kind of started throwing out things. And there were 3 of us in this conversation, and we're throwing out like, ooh, this movie. And we're all like, yeah. And then my friend throws out a movie that was just, it was not in the mutual agreement container. And
I think what you were saying was, up until this point, you'd all been on the same page with the movies that have been said, and all of a sudden a movie came up, you were like, whoa, that's not part of my little bunch of favorite movies that I would have selected from.
oh God, not for me, not for me. And I said not for me, but I said it with like a, oh, no, no, no. And the person got kind of quiet and I was like, all right. And then everybody was kind of doing the same thing, throwing out movies. And another one came out, was like, yeah, that's not one of mine either. And she's like, would you stop yucking my yum? And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And at that point because of the work we do, because of, you know, knowing the different dynamics and approaches that are going on here, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Like, I thought we were all just kind of spitballing. And she's like, we were. And like, anytime I said something that wasn't in the realm, like, you'd made a comment about it. She's like, I didn't make a comment about your movies that I don't like. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And it brought a conversation that we were able to kind of talk about it. And it made it present. Like, you know, just saying not for me. It like,
right.
What's the, like, there wasn't any defensiveness or like attitude, but there was judgment. There was obvious judgment in it because.
Well, and I think it's not just saying not for me, it's how you say it. Like, oh, no, not for me. Like, versus, oh, no, that's not one I would have thought about. Like, no, that's not one of my favorite. Like, what is it about that you really like? Like, I'm curious because that's not something that I mean, sometimes when you can tap into the thing that the other person likes about that, like, oh, I'd never thought about that. So a great example of this is Jimmy Buffett. So I'm about to confess something that may get me kicked off the island. I am not a Jimmy Buffett fan, mainly because before I came to Key West, I didn't have a freaking clue who Jimmy Buffett was. None whatsoever. And there was some things I heard about various things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. His music isn't music that I particularly enjoy, and I don't have any nostalgia around it because I didn't grow up knowing who he was. As I said, I didn't even know who he was until I came to Key West. And it's funny because I'd been to different places in the US and I'd seen Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. Meant nothing to me. Like, it was the same thing as a George Foreman grill. I didn't know who George Foreman was for the longest time because it wasn't like, he wasn't well known in the US, in the UK, and I wasn't a fan of boxing, so I had no clue who he was. So like, there was a lot of that, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is, and I heard some of the music, and I'm like, meh, like, not really my kind of music. And I then went and stayed, and this has been, I mean, I've been in Key West for a long time now. You hear a lot of Jimmy Buffett in Key West. There's a lot of Jimmy Buffett themed things in Key West. And it's not like I heard it and was like, yuck, I can't stay in this place. It was just a not for me kind of thing. And then I went and stayed on a boat with some friends of mine at the end of last year. And one of them, his parents were very much into Jimmy Buffett. And he was like telling some of the stories about like the moments that they'd shared and what the music had meant in the context of those things and it was like, oh, I sort of almost like Jimmy Buffett now because like I now see it through his eyes, and now I'm like, and it's like the music hasn't changed. Like, it's not like it's like all of a sudden different music, but I can see like I'm like, oh, I get why you love it, and now I have a different reaction whenever I hear it. Now I think of him and I think of his family and I think of like, and it's like all of a sudden this thing that I was like a little bit like I got a bit eye rolly every time it came. I'm like, God, not again, because it didn't. It is
constant too. Like, yes. it's constant.
And it's, as I said, I didn't find it particularly offensive. I just didn't enjoy it. And now I get some enjoyment from it because it reminds me of them. And it reminds me of my time on the boat with them. Like, and it's like, I'm like, and I actually said that to him at one point. I'm like, you've helped me like Jimmy Buffett a little bit. And he was like, oh, I really love that. And now it's become like a thing between the two of us. And as I said, it's not like I'm like, I never had like a visceral, strong reaction against it. But I'm also like, now I'm like, like I have good things associated with it now, just because I had that conversation with him. And if I'd just been like, no, I don't like Jimmy Buffett, not interested. Like if that had been my response, I would have missed out on something that now I get enjoyment out of.
It's weird. I'm kind of in two minds about what I'm about to say, because there's one part of me that's like, you never know what kind of joy something is bringing somebody, because like because of a backstory. And like, I'm thinking of a lot of like things when I was growing up, like meals that, you know, people eat from their childhood. And it's like, why do you like that? And like liver and onions, my husband likes liver and onions, but only cooked a certain way because it reminds him of liver and onions that his grandmother used to cook. Now, do I think that's something, if it wasn't for that would exist? Don't know. Liver, not my thing. I just don't like the flavor of it. Like,
yep.
I probably did yuck that yum at one point, and like I at that point I did it. I'm like, oh, like it was probably very judgmental, but how can you like this? And the story came about, and I'm like, oh, okay. A note I had made: what about yumming your yuck? Like,
okay, I'm going to need you to say more.
So there's a lot of things that we get conditioned to yum about. Like, I mean, in my life, as I've gone, there are certain things that I had done my entire life, liked my entire life. And then when I kind of came into my own, I'm like, oh, I don't even like this stuff. Like, it's like,
yes.
like, why? What? For how long? I'm like, this didn't serve me. Like, I didn't even enjoy this, but like somebody told me it was yum once, and I was like, oh, yummy, yummy. Like, no.
This is supposed to be yummy, right? Well, it's part of the belonging thing, right?
Kind of not tricked myself into it, like, was conditioned into it. And I wonder, like, certain things like that, like, I don't know, it just kind of came across my
I'm glad that you explained more, because I was like, because I feel like that's kind of what I just described was yumming my yuck in that respect, but I understand the context in which you're saying it now. And I think that what is most important when it comes to from a needs context is to be authentic with yourself. So if you're trying to convince yourself that you like something because you've been told to like it, because you think that you should like it because everybody else likes it, so I'm gonna like it too so I can fit in and belong, that's the way of you trying to get your needs met, by the way. Not a very effective one, but just mentioning. Like all of those things, like I think that's something that can be really empowering and liberating, is you being able to say, actually, that's not my thing, even if it's everybody else's thing. And that's not from a, I'm trying to yuck their yum kind of thing. I'm just being authentic to me and sharing, like there was a point where I was very much conditioned into doing what everybody else wanted to do, because that was what enabled me to fit in. And again, as I said, it's a way of, trying to get our needs met, is like trying to feel a sense of belonging when our need for foundation function, our security need, our love need are not well met. Sometimes we will try and like it's a fitting in rather than a belonging. And the problem with fitting in is that you don't find the people that you really belong with. Now, there's a difference between coming at it from a like I'm yucking other people's yums versus I'm actually just saying it's not a yum for me, and this is the thing that's a yum for me for these reasons, and then finding the other people who have the same yums so that you find your people that you vibe with, and it's like, oh, you get my yums and you get my yums and you get my yums. I don't have to explain my yums to you because you also like enjoy them. And I don't think it's one or the other, in the sense that like we shouldn't only be looking for people who have the same yums as us, and we shouldn't be looking for people who don't. But I think that having people who have the same yums as us is, it creates a sense of connection in a way that isn't present with people who don't.
Well, even to add on to that, I think, yes, like it is nice to have people that you have mutual yummies with. And when you kind of get out of this superiority and judgment and this yucking somebody's yum, you can have a buffet of yums that may not all be your yum, but then you have all these people come together, and it's like I've been in there's some specific situations I've thought of where it's people from all different kind of worlds, like in their mind, in location, and all of the different aspects. And it's like how beautifully it is when we come together without judgment of the other person. Oh, that person's just doing their thing. That person's twirling around in circles. Why? Because it brings them joy. Huzzah for you. Like, it's just like, and when you can come together and share that banquet that not everything's going to be for you. You don't go to a buffet and you're like, yes, this chef nailed it. All of my favorite things on one table. Like, chances
Especially
of that,
if you're vegan and you've got food allergies.
Well, yeah. There's always going to be
You're
that
lucky
one
if there's
thing.
one thing on the table that I can, oh, yeah, buffet my ass.
This
It's
is not
one
where
dish
you're
I can
supposed to
have.
flip it, Claire. I'm saying there will probably at least be one yuck, but like we always hope for at the minimum one yum for Claire. But like if you think about it though, it's like so often our like that kind of yuck makes us like put up a barrier that it could be conscious or unconscious, but it creates at least an energetic barrier that's just like, oh, we can't all come together because that's yucky. Like
yeah, absolutely.
We can come together and
we don't accept the yucks and the yums of everybody, and it's like as long as your yuck isn't like, as long as your yum isn't affecting me negatively, as long as your yuck isn't affecting me negatively, like who the hell cares? Have at it, enjoy. So now we're going to flip it on its head, because and I'm going to caveat this by saying I understand this whole don't yuck my yum thing, and there's a very visceral experience that I had when I was younger that it affected me so deeply because I was judged a lot as a child because I was different, because I hadn't found people who had the same yums as me. And I had this really, I was always incredibly anxious anytime somebody asked me to pick music, because I was always judged for my music tastes, because I had a very, very wide and deep and broad music taste. If you were to look at my favorites playlist, it goes some places. Like, I mean, talk about some rabbit holes. Like, I mean, loop-de-loops and all the things. Like I have things of all different genres on there, and that's because I love a wide variety of music. But I was always so judged for my music taste. I was always afraid of picking a piece of music that we're going to have people go, oh God, I hate this song, I hate this artist, or what have you. Now, why I was afraid of somebody else yucking my yum, but why was I afraid of them yucking my yum? Because I wasn't solid enough in my yum, which meant that I put the opinions of somebody else about my yum higher than my own opinions on my yum. The truth of the matter is, if my needs were well met, and my needs were all kind of woven into this, because at a point where your needs are unmet, if somebody yucks your yum, and therefore it feels like they're yucking you in a way, because a lot of the time, especially things like music and movies, like they become almost like a part of our identity.
And personal, like
very personal, exactly. And so what can end up happening is that it can feel like they're yucking us, not just our yum. It's like, oh, well, if you don't like that, like maybe you don't really like me because I really love that. And that's a big part of who I am, sort of thing. And so what can end up happening is that in that we're terrified of that judgment, because that judgment is going to negatively impact our needs are already unmet, and needs are already compromised across the board. And not only that, but we are looking to the people around us to meet our needs, because we don't know how to meet our needs ourselves. So not only is it like, oh, there's this risk that they may not, like, we may feel like they don't like us and that we're being judged. But actually, if we're dependent on the people around us to meet our needs, and not only did they not meet the needs, but they actually negatively impact the needs, because not only do they not like validate, yeah, this is awesome, and therefore we like you. I mean, and this is like incredibly nuanced. Like, I'm not like, this is very, very nuanced. It's a very simplified version of this conversation, just because we're already nearly an hour. I did say I was going to bring this up very early on in the podcast. Apparently that wasn't the case, but I'm desperately trying to not turn this into a 3-hour long podcast. But the thing about this is that part of the reason that the whole don't yuck my yum thing is a thing is because we're not solid in our needs being met. We're not solid in our yum for ourselves. Therefore, somebody else coming along and yucking it makes us because our yum is wobbly. Like, we're not solid in it. And so we've got this wobbly yum, and somebody comes along and like nudges it ever so slightly, and the entire thing topples over. It's like, well, does that mean I don't like it anymore? Should I not like it? Like, does that, like, it becomes this whole thing.
I've seen that before, where somebody like has a yum and they're invested in their yum, and then all of a sudden it's like, what happened there? Oh, actually, like, and it wasn't what I was talking about before, where they found out that what they loved, they actually didn't. It was because somebody came in and yucked it so hard, they changed themselves for it.
Well, and here's the thing, is that, yes, there's an element, and this is where I'm very, like, this is where I'm probably more on this side of the conversation than I am on the previous side of the conversation, because it's our responsibility to meet our needs. It's our responsibility to love our yum so much. It doesn't fucking matter what anybody else says. There was a brilliant video I saw earlier this week where somebody came along. There was a woman who was talking about bullying and a phrase that could neutralize a lot of bullying situations. And this was a phrase that their child had used in a potential bullying situation. And what had happened was somebody had come up to their child, and I can't remember specifically what it was that they had said. It was something like, oh, like, that top's stupid, or the thing that you like is, it was something like that they had said to her child. And her child just went, I don't think so, and walked off. And it was like, that child was so, like, solid in, no, I like this. And actually, and it wasn't, interestingly enough, notice what happened here. The child didn't say, no, you're wrong, it's not. What they said was, I don't think so. And there's no response to that, like, other than like, I mean, you can imagine the next thing being like, well, you're stupid then. I don't think so. Like, again, same thing. It works just the same way, because it's neutralizing it. What it's saying is, my opinion on this thing is more important to me than your opinion on this thing. And that's how it should be when we are connected, when our needs are well met, when we're connected to our value need, when we are connected to our personal power need. We don't need somebody else to validate the things that we love. We don't need somebody else to love the things. Like, a great example with me and Serena is dancing. I love partner dancing. I've always loved partner dancing. It's not Serena's thing. Now, do I go, oh God, Serena doesn't like partner dancing? Oh, maybe I feel bad now. Like, does she not like me because she doesn't like partner dancing? Fuck off. Like, mate, that's not even a thing. Should I not like partner dancing? No, I love partner dancing. It lights me up. And Serena will happily come along and watch me dance all night, and take videos and pictures of me dancing. But because I'm solid in my needs being met, and I'm solid in the things that I love, it doesn't matter if somebody else tries to yuck my yum. You can't yuck my yum. That's the truth of the matter is, my yum is unyuckable, because I am so yummified by my yum. It doesn't matter what you do to it. You can't yuck it. That is empowerment. And that is caused by you being so solid in your needs being met, and so solid in the things that you love, and so trusting in the fact that your opinion about what you love for you is the most important thing. Now, here's the thing. It works the other way around as well, in the sense that my opinion over what is yummy is most important to my yums. But Serena's opinion on what is yummy is most important to her yums, because Serena loves forms of dancing that I don't particularly enjoy. And my opinion on not enjoying those things doesn't change Serena's perspective on it, because Serena's perspective on Serena's yums are the most important perspectives to Serena. In my world, what my view is on those dancing things is most important to me. Serena's is less important. In Serena's world, Serena's opinions on what is yummy is most important to her. Mine is less important. And so, because we've been so conditioned to put like an inflated sense of value on other people's opinions, because we haven't been taught to trust our opinions, and we haven't been taught to validate ourselves and to be solid in what we believe and how we think and how we feel. We're so vulnerable to the opinions of others. That's why this affects people. Like, if Serena's godson, when Serena was like, oh my God, that's disgusting, had gone, well, I don't think so, and just walked off, Serena would probably been like, fair play. Like, okay, cool. Like,
touche, little man, touche.
Right? Exactly. And it wouldn't have, and that's not, again, he wasn't saying you're wrong in what you're saying. It just neutralizes this defensiveness. It neutralizes this I'm right, you're wrong. So it's the superiority thing. It's the power struggle that ends up happening. It's the value struggle that ends up happening. It neutralizes that because it just doesn't matter.
It's almost like saying we can both be right, because like I'd realize as that came out, I'm like, nuance, just because like he can like it and the other person can not like it. And as long as they are not they are being self first in how they are approaching it, vocalizing it, all of those things, like Claire was saying, we don't have the same tastes in everything, but we can mutually exist in each other's worlds too. And it'd be like, hey, do you want to come and do this dance class with me? And sometimes it'd be like, actually, sure. Like, let me get down with this. Like, and then other times it's like, yeah, just still not feeling it. And like mutually existing, like we can mutually exist with different yums.
Right, absolutely. And not only mutually exist, but celebrate each other's yums. Like, I love the stuff. Like, I've been to see Serena perform her forms of dance. Not the forms that I particularly like or I would do, but you can bet your ass, I am like front and center, first on my feet, wanting to bring flowers to her to celebrate and acknowledge the performance. And same thing like the other way around. Like if I'm the one that's performing, Serena would be front and center cheering me on. Like if there's things that speak to my yums that Serena knows, she will end up like buying me things that go along with that, or encouraging me to do things that go along with that, and vice versa. Like I'm the same thing with the things that are Serena's yums that aren't mine, where I'm like, you know what, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? Like, have you done this lately? Because like these are things that we know that bring each other joy. And we're not going, well, I'm not going to mention that because I wouldn't like it. We go, actually, no, this is my person and I love her and I want her to be doing things that bring her joy. So how can I encourage that? How can I celebrate that? How can I support that? How do I, and that's where we move into the empowerment ecosystem, where we move into that supporter role, where it's like, hey, have you done a XYZ class recently? Like, I know how much you love that. And like, no, I haven't. Actually, it's a really good idea. I'm gonna have a look and see if I can find one locally. Like, if we go like, and this is like the great thing about doing this on the back of the Shapes episodes, is that you can start to see there are how we interact with the people around us can make very clear indicators as to which of the shapes that we are in. And it's like, okay, if we are yucking somebody else's yum, we're probably not in the empowerment ecosystem. We're probably in the drama triangle in some way, shape, or form. If we are allowing somebody else to yuck our yum because we're not solid in it ourselves, then we are probably also in the drama triangle. If we're like, I'm going to do this because I love it and I'm enjoying it, I'm in creator mode. What's my outcome is bringing myself joy. What's the ways of me doing it? I'm going to do this and this and this. Like that's creator mode. Supporter mode. How do I support somebody else in their creator mode? So if somebody's in their yum mode and they're not negatively impacting themselves or anybody else, or in a self-first way, they're in yum mode. Supporter mode is supporting their yum and being like, yeah, good for you. And it's important to say that, as it is really important to make sure that our yums are not negatively impacting somebody else. Yeah, if our yums are blatantly bigoted, yeah, that's not okay. That's not a self-first way of meeting our needs. And somebody else coming along and saying, hey, that's not okay. That's not yucking your yum. That's holding you accountable and holding you responsible for the choices you're making and the impact they're having on others. That is somebody, again, being in the empowerment ecosystem. And if you're engaging in that, you're actually in the harm dynamic. So, and there are going to be some times where somebody else's yum might negatively impact somebody else without necessarily realizing they maybe have a trauma around a certain thing. And it's not our responsibility to think about everything that every person on the planet might be traumatized by and might have had a bad experience at some point in their lives. Like, you could have things that generally bring people joy somebody might have had a bad experience with, and therefore they get triggered by that thing. It's not our responsibility to think about all of those possibilities and not do anything that might potentially trigger somebody at some point, because you'd never do anything. And if somebody communicates with you, hey, like, I totally get that this is your yum. I have a bit of a hard time around this because of an experience that I had earlier on in life. Like, I don't want to dim your yum in any way, shape, or form. But would you mind just like maybe not making as big a thing about it around me, just because I've got this thing around it? And if you care about that person, why the fuck wouldn't you want to do that? Like, if I'm like, if my yum is like salsa dancing and someone had a really bad experience salsa dancing once, like really bad, and it caused them trauma, like, why would I be talking about that around them all the time? Because that is gonna, like, and again, it's not my responsibility to not talk about something that is, in case somebody had a bad experience around it. And if somebody communicates that, this is about the community aspect of the empowerment ecosystem, is being aware of the fact that we are part of a community, being aware of the other people in it. And as we become more aware of them and the things that are affecting them, that's not to say that that person shouldn't be like, okay, I clearly have some stuff around this. I want to go, like, it's my responsibility to go work on this because these are my triggers and my trauma, and I need to go do some healing around that. That's not to say that that's not the case as well. And there are things that you can do where it's like, actually, you know what? Thank you for letting me know that. I'm not going to, like, I won't mention that around you, or I will do my best not to mention that around you, because I don't want to do anything that's going to trigger you. Like, that's part of community care. So it's, I mean, this, as I said, there's so much, like, who would have thought there was so much nuance in a little thing that, one sentence that is being used so commonly these days. And yet there is. And I think that it's really important for us to be solid within ourselves, to make our yums unyuckable, because it doesn't matter to us what anybody else says or does. If somebody pulls us up and goes, hey, you know that thing that's a yum for you, that's really not okay because of this, this, and this, you're negatively impacting somebody, being open to that and being like, oh, okay. Remember, creator mode. This yum isn't actually an option for me anymore because it negatively impacts somebody else. What are other options for me to meet this need? What are the other ways I can meet my outcome? And therefore, you can find other yums along the way as well that are going to be helpful and impactful for you as well. And we want to show community and care in how we are dealing with people around us. Like, there's so much nuance around this, and like, I could have talked about this. Like, we could have done an entire episode just on like the last few minutes of the things that I've been talking about, but I'm very aware of, like, I don't want to kind of go down another rabbit hole. But I do think it's really important for us to, the second that we say, don't yuck my yum, what we are saying is, you have the power to take something that is joyful. I'm giving you the power to, or I'm saying that you have the power to take away something that is joyful for me, that is meeting my needs. The second you do that, your personal power need is not being well met. Your value need is not being well met. So the second you notice that whole don't yuck my yum coming up, you can communicate to somebody, hey, this is something I really love. I'd really appreciate it if you supported me in the fact that I love this thing, because I'm not negatively impacting anybody else. And this is your, like, how can I take that power back? How can I say, actually, it doesn't matter if somebody else doesn't enjoy this thing that I love, because now you could come along to something that I absolutely love and go, ugh. And I'm like, cool, not for you. Okay, still for me, not for you. That's all right. And how do we take that power back? We take that power back by meeting our own needs, by getting solid in our opinion being the most important one when it comes to our yums, as long as we're not negatively impacting somebody else. And getting to the point where our yums are unyuckable. Anything you want to add? Because I realize I've said a lot in that last little 10 minutes.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for today. And I'm curious, like, how this has landed with you. This is a very common phrase right now. And I can imagine the first half of this episode, you might have been going along going, yeah, exactly. And then this last 10 minutes, you might have been like, oh, fuck. Like, damn it.
Welcome to my life.
I've got work to do. I've got some stuff to do around this. Like, if I'm like bothered by somebody else's yucking my yum, maybe I need to take my power back around that. If you are struggling with that, if you're having some issues with that, I'm like, how the hell do you even start doing that? Let us know. Send us a message. Send us a communication on social media or via the website or something, and we will do a follow-up episode to this, but we'll go into that a little bit further. But for now, we're going to call it quits for today and say thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with another episode. Between now and then, remember to stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
Okay, so we just finished recording, and like that episode, this is one of the downsides sometimes of not scripting our episodes, is that we sometimes don't realize all the things we want to talk about in an episode until we get to the end. So it felt a little lopsided in the sense we felt like we spent a lot of time having conversation about one side of the conversation with the don't yuck my yum, and then the flip side, which I think is as important, if not more important, was like a super quick at the end. And then we had to end the episode because otherwise we would have been here for another hour. So what we decided is we're going to actually go deeper into that last little section in our next episode. So come back next week. If you want to know more about that, then please do come back next week and we will go through all of that and in a little bit more depth, and you'll get more of our usual conversation about these things on that side of things. Because as I said, I think it's really important. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Come back next week when we'll be talking about that. But between now and then, remember to stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and give us a written review, as it will help more people find us.
And remember, if something's bringing someone joy and it's not negatively impacting them, you, or anybody else, why would you want to yuck their yum?
Well, shit. It really is that simple.